This is Behind the For Sale Sign, the grit and grind of real estate with Ann Hilliard and Lisa Barrick on... Welcome to another episode of Real Talk Real Estate. And let me tell you something. We've never been more real in our entire lives. If you want to talk about two people who are real into the real talk real estate industry, it's these two fine ladies here with us at the Stone State Studio. Ann Hilliard, Lisa Barrick. I'm Chad, and I don't know what I'm talking about with real estate, but that's why we're here. We're going to talk all things real estate.
Okay.
So last time you two got together was in 2025 when we did this podcast.
That was like a
Make
year
it sound
ago.
so long ago.
That was a long time ago.
It was.
But now we're here again.
I know.
So how's 2026 shaping up? We're here in the first quarter here. How are we looking, Ann? We'll start with you.
First quarter's been a little.
It's first quarter.
It's first quarter.
Typical. Is it typical?
Yeah.
Mostly, generally speaking, if you want a first quarter, you have to work in fourth quarter.
Right.
And I find time and time again that, Halloween rolls around and I'm done for the year. And then they come into the office beginning of January. It's like, oh, I don't have any closings. Well, duh. You didn't work fourth quarter.
Yeah. Yeah. First quarter was also challenging of 25.
Fourth quarter was hard.
Yeah.
It really was hard.
Yeah.
It seemed actually about the beginning
Market
of the
really
third
changed.
quarter,
Yeah.
everything changed.
Yeah.
And regardless of what the interest rates were, everything was difficult. We had pushback on every imaginable thing that you could possibly think of in transactions. You had 3 different banks in one transaction.
Yeah.
And it was
That
just
was-
one nightmare after another.
And took months and months and months for
And it's
each one to say
just-
like, nope.
Yeah, it was just a hard.
Yeah.
The last 6 months
Yeah.
were really hard. The way the market shifted and prices went down in some areas, some price ranges, and some school districts. The prices went down, and we still have stuff sitting that really shouldn't be for sale yet, but they are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
We invite you to ask us questions, and how you do that is you comment on this video or on the social media channels of Lisa and Ann. Right? We want your
Right.
questions so we can answer those questions on fun podcasts like Real Talk Real Estate.
Yeah, this is grit and grind.
This is grit and grind. Remember?
No, it's not. It's Real Talk Real Estate. That's what we started with.
No, it's grit and
Grit and
grind.
grind.
Behind
That's
the sign.
Ann's. Ann's is real talk.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
Because we
Yeah,
have
it
Selling
is.
Susquehanna. Then what happened with Real Talk Real Estate?
That's I haven't done one in a while myself. That one's mine.
This is the grit and grind.
Welcome to Grit and Grind podcast with Ann Hilliard and Lisa Barrick. We're not editing it because that's funny. All right.
Where are we?
Grit and Grind, episode 4. First question.
Read your notes, Chad.
Okay, here's your first question. So if you want to be a part of Grit and Grind, submit your question, and Ann and Lisa will answer those questions.
Just get us questions. We'll put them on a show.
One
We're
of
not
them.
sure which one.
We got 7 shows here with 2 people. It's a melee. Ask me how my year's going.
We
All
know
right.
now. Gee whiz.
Jiminy crickets. Here we go. Question number 1. Let me get these on. Here's your question. Now pay attention.
Okay.
If a buyer's financing requires repairs to the property,
Yes.
I really like this question. So if a buyer's financing requires repairs to the property, which party should be responsible for said repairs? The seller or the buyer?
Depends on what was negotiated.
And we'll start with you.
Depends on what was negotiated.
The answer is always, it
It
depends.
It always depends.
The contract says the seller's responsible if it's based on their financing, but there are often times that a buyer will say, we appreciate the fact that you're taking our government financing in order for us to purchase this property. And if there are repairs for our financing, we'll do them. But it depends on how it's negotiated.
Yeah. And it depends on what the
What it
repair
is, too.
the extent of the repair. If it's so I prepare, like when I'm working with FHA or VA pre-approved buyers, I always tell them up front, even when we're just looking at properties, if there are things like peeling paint or there's a handrail that's needed for, set of stairs or whatever, I said those kind of items, like you might just have to take care of those yourself,
Right.
assuming the seller gives you permission to do those things.
Right.
But if we get into some more involved things,
Like a roof.
there's, yeah,
Right.
exactly, or coliform bacteria in the water, or a septic issue, or things like that. Now you get into, and honestly, whether you're a conventionally approved buyer or a government backed or insured buyer, those are always things that are like a little bit more on the seller's onus to fix them, because those are, issues with the property itself. So it really depends on the extent of the repair. So, minor little things that are specific to that type of financing, I kind of say to the buyers, you might have to
pony up and do this.
yeah, take care of these things. But if you get into other more significant issues, then everything's negotiable.
So I like to draw attention to the fact too that as experienced agents, it's kind of our responsibility, I think,
Yes.
to point out things that might be an issue on the front end of it.
Yeah.
And I tell my buyers, if there are things that we're going to want that we can see when we walk through, we're going to put that on the contract. That the roof,
Yeah.
or
The knob and tube wiring.
the knob and tube wiring, or the Federal Pacific panel,
Yes.
or the cloudy windows, or
Right.
whatever,
Sure.
or the lack of GFCIs. I tell the buyers, we're going to write that on the contract, because when we go in there with our price, so our offer needs to reflect those repairs may be needing to be done.
Yeah.
And if we're going to ask the seller to negotiate up front, we want him to we want him to know where our concerns are going into it, so that they don't then show up on the home inspection, which they're going to.
Yeah.
And he's already negotiated away all of his margin, not knowing.
Right.
So let's be smart about this. And I think there are a lot of agents who don't counsel their buyers that way, and then they get mad at you when the seller comes back and says, well, I'm not fixing that. You could see that when you walked through the house. Well, yeah, they're right. And shame on you, the agent, because you didn't point that out.
Right.
Right.
That this was going to be an issue. And now we've got a bigger issue because the buyer wants to tank the deal
Yeah.
for things that they could see when they walked through the house to begin with.
Exactly.
Silly.
The other thing is, as their agent, as a buyer's agent, you need to counsel your buyers when they're going through a house, if they are doing any kind of like government insured or government backed financing. It could be USDA, it could be, whatever. There's a whole bunch of them. That, okay, just so you know, I know you really like this house, but this is going to get flagged by the FHA approved appraiser.
Yes.
This is going to get flagged. This is going to get flagged. How much do you want this house? Or do we keep looking and find a house that's going to conform a little bit more to that financing, so that we're going to have less to deal with, right? In the negotiations with the seller? Because everything's going to affect the price you pay. And perhaps if you're looking for terms like you need help with your closing costs and those kind of concessions from a seller, well, the more you're asking for that already is
The
going
less
to
you're
have
gonna
to be
get.
done to this property to make it conform to your financing, the less you're going to be able to negotiate on price and closing costs and things like that, or closing date, or, what have you. There could be all kinds of things. And then if you get into you're competing with other buyers on offers for the same house, well, now, you're in a losing position before you even start.
And this is one of the reasons why it's not a good idea to sell your house on your own.
Well, it's a good idea to sell your house on your own if you want to lose some money, because ultimately the seller leaves money on the table somewhere when they're doing it themselves.
Right.
Yeah.
And they don't know how to negotiate these things.
Yeah.
And the buyer, if they're not using an agent either, they're kind of hanging until the end and they get their appraisal back and there's like all this stuff.
Yeah.
They just don't know how to navigate it.
Well, and they just don't, they're not educated about different types of financing programs. There are
Right.
a lot of different financing programs out there, and every one of them has all kinds of intricacies and rules and guidelines and procedural things that the buyer has to conform to, the seller has to
Yes.
conform to, the property has to conform to. There's so many different things. The title has to conform to so many different things that if you're not educated on all that, and I highly doubt that your average individual who is not a real estate professional is, or a lending professional,
Right.
You're going to get yourself in a bad situation, So, and you're going to deal with a whole lot of headaches, and you're not going to know how to solve them because you don't have the skills, because you don't have the knowledge.
Right.
Experience matters.
So
Yeah, for
why
sure.
would you know?
I say that over and over.
Yeah.
Experience matters.
Yeah.
It really does matter
Yeah.
when you're working with someone.
Right. Yeah.
Choose wisely when you're choosing an agent.
You talked about counseling and advising these
Right.
buyers and sellers, and that leads us to our next question.
Uh-oh.
The question is, how do you advise sellers on choosing an offer when you receive multiple offers? Choosing an offer when they get multiple offers.
Well, price isn't always the selling point.
Correct.
It's terms. It's price and terms that are agreeable to both parties. So,
So explain that, please.
Well-
because I would be like, want the most money. Right.
certainly.
Not always.
Not always, but the facts are that when you look at an offer and somebody doesn't want a radon inspection, okay, well, radon is everywhere, and the price of radon mitigation systems has gone up. So they're exposed to upwards of $2,000 for a radon mitigation system. So take that off of whatever it is you were going to get with a higher priced offer. And then termite is anywhere from $800 or $1,000 to $2,000, depending on how bad.
Yeah.
So, all right, so there's your exposure. An
Could have
ultraviolet,
to also do some structural repairs,
right?
depending.
An ultraviolet light's what, $2,000 nowadays?
Yep.
Put an ultraviolet light on.
Right.
Septic system, anywhere from $5,000 to $30,000. So you start to weigh the cost of your exposure
Yeah.
on inspections that they've chosen, and what you could have to pay for. And maybe that lower price gets you out in 30 days and not 60 days. So it's cost of time and
Saving-
money. It's
saving
time
you
and
carrying
money.
costs.
Yeah, it's time and money.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you want to look at the different types of financing,
Yep.
and or cash is, cash isn't really always king. I mean, there are certain situations where the cash offer is always going to be more appealing, particularly if the terms are, say, they're waiving inspections. I mean, we went through a period where we had quite a few cash sales with people waiving inspections, which is not necessarily something that we recommend, but
No,
if,
never.
if people opt for
Yeah.
that's their choice, with a lot of warnings from us.
Sure.
So, but even that, sometimes you really need to, maybe they're making it. You just really need to look at that, because sometimes it's not necessarily the best offer or best situation. So, or you get an offer that is cash.
It's not really.
It's not really cash.
No,
They
we-
actually have to use equity. So there really is an appraisal going on somewhere on another property, maybe not this one. And if that doesn't work out, they're not getting the cash. You don't have the sale. Or they're getting cash from some other source. So unless they can prove they've got it sitting in their bank account,
It's not really
It's
cash.
not always necessarily cash. So you have to be real careful and really look into your agreement of sale. You can't always just take the paper it's written on at face value. You got to contact that agent and ask a lot of questions. So it's not always just like, here it is, let's sign it.
Yeah.
You know, you might need to step back and do a little bit more investigating into what exactly everything there means.
And again, that
you know?
is with experience, right? That's how you counsel your
yeah.
buyers and your
absolutely.
sellers. And
Very early in my career, I had a listing that I wrote an offer on, and another agent wrote an offer on the property, and she wanted to present her offer. I was like, okay, you can come meet the sellers and present your offer. I don't care. Our offers were nearly identical.
really,
They were
happens a
nearly
lot.
identical. And the seller, they thanked her, and she said, "Do you want me to leave while you guys talk?" And they're like, "No, you can stay." The sellers, "You can stay." I was like, "No, whatever. It's their show. It's not mine."
Yeah.
And they looked at her and they said, "We're going to take your offer." And I'm like, "What?" And she said, "Well, let me explain why." She said, "Ann, you were here for an hour and a half twice with your buyer." And I said, "Yes." And they came in and looked at the house and presented us an offer. They were here one time for 35 minutes. You were here twice for an hour and a half. We're taking their offer because they apparently wanted it more than your people did. I was like, okay. So you just don't know.
yeah.
You just don't know.
That's hilarious because it really doesn't make any sense. Because
No.
some people just take longer to make a decision.
But that
You know,
you can't.
but-
You just don't ever know.
Yeah,
And
that's
I was
funny.
like, okay.
Yeah. That's I'm
Whatever.
not sure about that logic, but alrighty then. Yeah,
I can't say I blame them.
yeah,
Because
yeah.
an hour and a half in a 1,000 square foot house is a long time.
Oh, for sure.
It was a little teeny tiny house.
Yeah, agreed.
So
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
like, whatever.
It worked out.
It worked out, but
Yeah.
you just don't know what
Yeah.
drives a seller sometimes to make a decision. But they were nearly identical.
Yeah.
Same money,
Yep.
same inspections. I think mine
kind of
was
financing,
like a
yeah.
week or so less time than the other one was, but they were nearly identical. And they chose because they did not displace them any longer than they had to, and they wanted it, and they did it like right now.
Boom, boom,
We're
boom.
ready to buy this house. It's crazy.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you never know what's going to affect a seller's decision. You know, you just don't know. The other thing is, quite frankly, if I have multiple offers on one of my listings, I do look at what agent and what brokerage
Yes, absolutely.
is behind that offer, because there are some agents in our market that, you know, both that work for us and work for other, you know, obviously other brokerages. If they write an offer on my property, 99% chance that that's going to close, and it's going to
Yes.
close successfully, and it's not going to be real painful.
Yes.
And both the parties are going to come out
Yes.
happy, because those other agents also know how to work with their clients and how to advise them and
Absolutely.
how to negotiate and everything else, and they work well. We work well with each other. There are some who you are dubious about whether or not the sale will close for all kinds of
I'm sure.
reasons. Maybe they're don't make themselves available all the time. Maybe they take a long time to get back to their client or me or, you know,
Whomever.
whatever. Maybe they're late with paperwork. Maybe they don't know how to do the paperwork and they don't have somebody else who's showing them. There's a lot of different things. So there are times where I'll say to the seller, I can tell you, every time I've had a sale with this agent over the past, 30-something years, it has closed.
There you go.
Yes.
And everybody's been happy at the end. So I bank on that person. They have a very high success rate. And that's a factor. I mean, it's a
Absolutely.
factor.
And where the
Absolutely.
bank is also.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
I tell them all, look, if you have to dial something other than 570, they're not local.
Yeah.
They're not
yeah,
local.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they're going to be a
Yep.
problem.
Yep. I had one of my buyer clients got a pre-approval recently from a lender who I am not familiar with. It turns out that other agents in my office have dealt with this lender, but I was kind of questioning it. And I sent the loan officer a whole list of questions yesterday and, introduced myself and said, because he's not local.
Right.
And sent him all kinds of questions. And I'm sure he was probably like, me, this agent, who does she think she is? But he answered them. And he answered them to my satisfaction.
So you're being diligent.
That I felt
Right.
comfortable. But my buyer, and I copied my buyer because I wanted her to be aware of the questions I was
Yes.
asking. that
Full
I was
transparency.
and that I was communicating
Yeah.
directly with her loan officer. And she kind of was like, oh gosh, is this okay? Is there a problem? Is there, because she doesn't know. She has
Right.
no idea. And I said, in order for me to represent you well, I need to get answers to all those questions. And some of them involved title procedures and, things that we haven't even found the house yet. But I need to know all those things so that when we get to that point, I'm prepared and I have everything prepared legally the way it has to be.
And you're going to
And-
get paid.
Yeah, well, yeah, there's that too. I mean, that is
seriously.
always the goal. This is a job.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, truly, that's what it
But
comes down to.
Right.
I want to be
yeah,
paid.
Yeah. And I want my client to be I want to represent my client well. I want to know that I did a
Yes.
good job and that I did everything in my power to represent that person as they deserve to be represented. And that's part of it.
Absolutely.
I think that should be a part of, I think every agent should have that perspective. My experience is that some agents do not have that perspective. They don't think that's part of their job.
Kind of is. It kind of same as pointing out things that are obviously not going to fly with their financing. And
Absolutely.
I'm not in construction. Well, no, but you know what
But
works.
you know enough.
You know
Yeah,
enough.
yeah, you know enough
to keep yourself
or
out of
to
trouble.
know who to call to get the answers
Yes.
you need because you're suspecting something.
Oh.
So all the things that she's talking about
Yeah.
that she does one more thing. Well, two more things. It keeps those people from calling me, which I'm happy about because I'm the broker.
Yeah.
And it keeps both of us
Yes.
out of errors and emissions issues.
Correct.
Which are
Yes.
huge.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it,
Yeah.
we live in a litigious society.
Absolutely.
And if somebody feels like you've wronged them, the first thing they're going to do is I'm going to call my attorney. Well,
Yeah.
okay, well, let's do what we
Yes.
can to
Yeah.
keep that from happening by doing our jobs.
Right.
By doing our jobs.
Yeah. And if another part of it is also like when you're representing a buyer or when you're representing a seller, either way, do you want to set your client up for failure
No,
and
absolutely not.
disappointment and being upset and making this whole experience miserable? I would assume not. So you want to do everything in your power to set your clients up for success. And, by virtue of that, we have success.
Yes.
Which is the goal for everybody. Everybody has.
You want everybody involved to have a pleasurable experience.
Absolutely.
That's what it's
and get to where they want to
Yeah.
get.
And just by doing that little due
that's our
diligence.
job. In a lot of ways, we're sort of a facilitator.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Amongst many
So-
other things, I'm sure.
We're psychologists,
Yeah.
we're a babysitter,
Marriage
we're a
counselors.
marriage counselor.
If anybody's out there
Yeah.
thinking of buying or selling Remax bridges in Lewisburg is where you need to go.
Gosh, yes.
Just because of the experience and the expertise and the kindness.
Well, and we actually
Right, Ann?
care. I mean, we actually care about our clients. Like, I want them
You
to
do,
have.
though. You do.
Yeah.
Of course you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course
Mostly.
you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. Yes.
So,
We're always nice.
yes, you are. You have client appreciation
We do.
get-togethers. It's fun.
Yes, we do.
You know
Yeah,
what?
No. Hey, if it's not for our clients and customers,
we wouldn't be doing what we
be
do.
doing something else. I don't know what, but
There's,
Face it, Walmart doesn't want me to be their
yeah, I was
greeter.
gonna say this is all I've done since I graduated from college. So it's pretty late in life for me to come up with something new.
Well, there might be a
Yeah.
lot of potential buyers watching this podcast or listening to this
Mm-hmm.
podcast, and they might be looking for residential, commercial space here
Yes.
in
Yeah.
in the Susquehanna River Valley here in Central PA and beyond, of course. But we'll end up with one more question here.
Okay.
Okay.
And we talked about this all the time, and it's one of my favorite questions because nobody seems to know. Is there a right time to buy? Is there a right time to buy a home?
So my short answer
Is it like a Black Friday sale? Like,
yeah,
is there
my short answer is always now. If you are financially ready to buy, you are logistically ready to buy, you are mentally ready to buy, you've got all your ducks in a row, what are you waiting for? A lot of buyer clients will say, well, I'm going to wait until there's more on the market. Now, if that's because you've looked, say I've set you up on a MLS search, you're looking on all the other websites and things, and there's really nothing out there that appeals to you, well, certainly. Okay, we're going to keep looking, but start now. Start looking, start checking things out, start checking out neighborhoods, all that kind of stuff. The risk is always when we get into the busier season, which we're
Approaching very quickly.
right,
Spring,
coming
right?
into.
Yes. March 1st.
You've got a lot more competition.
Yes.
Now, hopefully, we'll get more inventory because there's some markets where inventory is still really low. So if anybody wants to sell, please call us. But you have to remember you're going to have a lot more competition for those homes. So you're going to most likely, there's a lot more offers that are going to be coming in. There's going to be more multiple offer situations. Good chance that you're going to end up paying more for those homes. And then as that happens, other properties that come on the market, now those prices are going to go high because those comparable sales are so everything,
Yeah.
So you just have to be prepared for that. So, the thing is, typically whether you're buying residential or commercial, unless you're an investor and you're buying like a block of real estate or something like that, you're buying one house. It takes one house. So if that house happens to be on the market now and you keep looking at it and it's still everything about it you love, buy it. Mm-hmm. What are you waiting for? Because sooner or later, somebody else is just going to come in and buy it, or you're going to end up paying more because other offers are going to come in. So
Talk to your lender. Do your due diligence with your financing first.
Be ready.
Don't call us and say, well, we haven't been to the bank yet. Can't buy.
Right.
Unless you know that you can borrow.
Yeah.
So do that first. And now's the time. Those pre-approvals are good for 60 days.
Yeah.
That gets you through the beginning of what is usually our busy market. And the rates, regardless of what anybody thinks, the rates are pretty good.
They
You
are good.
still can do 6%.
Yeah. Yep.
And I think that the people that are saying, well, the rate's still too high, the thing with rent is that's 100% interest
Yeah.
into your landlord's pocket.
Yes.
It's not 6%. It's 100%.
Yeah.
So
Yep. And
what
if
are you waiting on?
And if you want to rent a nice home in our market, pretty much throughout our valley, you're looking at probably on average $1,500 to $2,000 to more than that
That's
a
more
month.
of my mortgage payment.
Same.
That buys you a nice home.
Yes,
That
absolutely.
buys you a nice home. So, and the chance of you finding a nice home to rent, it's tough. It's tough
It
to
is.
find. And, the rates are still too high thing. Please get out of the, fabricated COVID mentality. It's that, demographic that grew up with, came to age of during those kind of rates. We've said this over and over and over again. The Fed manufactured those rates to keep our economy going during a pandemic. They're not reality.
Well, most of those people have refied out of there because they've moved.
Yeah, right.
The people, a lot of them with that rate, that
Right.
3%, they've moved. They've sold their homes and they've refied out of that 3%.
Yeah.
And they're probably at a 7 or 7.25
Right.
now.
Yeah.
And the rates are down around 6.
Yeah. And for
So-
those of us who have been in this business for a long time,
6%
or
not bad.
even remember what the rates were before we were in this business, 6% is great. 6% is a good rate. You know, I know that my parents sold like in the late 80s and it was like 18% or 16%.
Really?
Yeah.
Thankfully, we've never had to work in that kind of market, but my first home was 9%.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, so that was the mid 90s. So
Mine was owner finance with a balloon.
yeah. Oh, yikes.
Yikes. Yes.
So, you know, I mean,
Buy it now.
Buy it now.
yeah.
Lisa Barrick, Ann Hilliard.
It's nice to see you.
Good to
again.
see you too.
see you. And
Remax
what
Bridges
show
in
are we on?
Lewisburg. Thank you for listening to Grit and Grind. And make sure you subscribe, share the heck out of this thing. And if you're interested in real estate, specifically here in the Susquehanna River Valley and beyond here in Central PA, we invite you to submit your questions. And Lisa and Ann will go right ahead and answer those questions for you right here on this episode that we like to call Grit and Grind. Thanks so much for joining us today. We'll see you next time.